Hello everyone and welcome back to the Ryan Retro channel. In today's video we're going to once again be looking at 3DS emulation on the Retroid Pocket 5 using Azahar. There were a few excellent comments on my previous video reminding me of a few things I forgot to tell you and also something I didn't know that I'm excited to try today. The first of those great comments was by Tony, who reminded me that I forgot to tell you guys how to get these games loaded up in Azahar in the first place. You may have compiled all of your Nintendo 3DS games into a folder like this, and they may not be showing within Azahar itself. I just downloaded a Thomas & Friends game, and as you can see, it's not showing here inside Azahar with my other games. And the reason for that is that if you look closely, Thomas & Friends is a .3ds file, which all of your 3DS games probably are too. That file type works well for a lot of different emulators, but unfortunately not for Azahar. Thankfully, it's a really simple fix. All you have to do is just rename the file type to .cci, and as I scroll through the list, you'll see all of my other games are in a .cci format. You can do that on your computer, or you can even do it directly on your device in the file manager. Let's just come down to Thomas & Friends, tap on the little file icon here, come up to the three dots and then rename. And from here you can just select the end of the name, erase the 3DS and type CCI. Now it's named .cci. It will now show in Azahar when we scroll down from the top and refresh our game list. You'll now see our somewhat ominous and terrifying looking Thomas face here, Thomas & Friends, ready to play. So if you're having any issues with games not showing in Azahar, just make sure they're in a .cci format. The next great tip we have is from Roger Fisher, who reminds us that the 3DS itself works by layering two 2D images on top of each other, like how 3D films work at the cinema. So in Azahar and other emulators, you're actually emulating the game twice in a way, but the devices we're using to emulate these games, like the Retroid Pocket 5, is not capable of showing 3D. So you're just rendering extra video for no actual benefit. It's just hurting performance. So what we can do is go into Azahar settings by tapping these three dots at the top left of the application, and then tapping settings, come down to graphics, scroll down a little bit and you will see this option that says disable right eye render. It has the little note underneath, greatly improves performance in some applications but can cause flickering in others. So let's see how that works. So far I've been using Azahar with this disabled and I have noticed flickering in quite a few games anyway. So we're going to toggle on this switch to disable the right eye rendering. So now it's not rendering everything twice, it should only be rendering it once and we should get improved performance. So if that works as advertised, I do highly recommend using it. Let's actually test that out now by increasing our internal resolutions to 5 times native, 2000 by 1200. I just picked the one that's higher than 1920 by 1080. And let's see if we can find a game that cannot handle very well. Then we'll disable the right eye render and see if we notice any improvements. I'm going to turn on the floating icon so we can monitor FPS. And here is a quick tip with the floating icon. If you'd like to keep the floating icon open so that you can quickly access it like this, but you don't like that little white line it puts on the right side of the screen, you can tap your finger on this little right arrow on the floating icon button. It's quite finicky, you might need to try it a few times. But after a few times, you'll get this little option here to change the transparency of that bar on the side of the screen. So by dragging that all the way to 0, you won't see that white line anymore, but you'll still be able to access that floating menu. So you get the best of both worlds. Let's now jump into a game I didn't show you in the previous video to keep things nice and fresh and see how well we do with that 5 times resolution scaling. This is Plumber Man Tennis, and this works with the gyroscope. So we're actually able to move the device to zoom in and out. I'm now losing because I keep tilting my device all over the place trying to show the different angles. It's a game that works really nicely on the Retroid Pocket 5 because we have all of the controls here we use, and we can also use the touchscreen if we want to. I'm not really sure why you'd want to use the touchscreen instead of the buttons, but if you do want to, it's really nice and easy to touch over here. Seeing the colors come up on the screen, pressing the different colored buttons, it just looks great. This is a super fun game, and even at 5 times resolution, it's running really well here. So let's see if we can push it a little bit more to get that frame rate down, and see if we get any benefit from disabling the right eye rendering. We're now playing at 8 times resolution, almost 4K, absolutely ridiculous. I'm just trying to tank that frames per second a little bit, but after the shaders have loaded in, we're still around 50 frames per second. Definitely feeling a bit of a slowdown compared to that somewhat near 1080p resolution we used before. Now hovering around 50 to 55 frames per second. And definitely experiencing some slowdowns here and there, like how the announcer just said, 40 love. And if we turn up the sound, you'll also hear that in the music. Definitely some issues here. So let's quit out of the game. Keep that 8 times resolution. Come into the settings, graphics, scroll down and turn on disable right eye render. I'm not expecting it to give us a perfect 8 times resolution experience, but I'm hoping to see some improvement. We've gone from 50 frames per second up to around 56 frames per second, so there is a noticeable improvement here. If you listen to the music, it's still stuttering a little bit, but definitely smoother than before. So it seems like we got a performance gain of around 5 frames per second, which in this case is around 10%. So if you are struggling to run a game, maybe disabling that right eye render could be beneficial for you. Let's now go back to a far more reasonable 4 times upscaled resolution. And let's try out that Thomas and Friends game I downloaded and changed to a CCI file to show you guys. Tap the trains to return them to their shed before they reach the middle. It seems like it's just a bunch of Thomas mini games. This wasn't the Thomas experience I wanted. But there is also a story mode, so let's check that out now. It's a sunny morning on the island of Sodor, and the engines are excited about the arrival of some very important visitors.
Can you help Thomas and his friends get it ready for the big day?
Yes, I can, Fat Controller. By the way, if there are any fans of Thomas around that maybe are from America, in the UK, we call the man who conducts all the trains the Fat Controller. But apparently in America, calling someone fat was seen as too aggressive for a kids show. So he was named Sir Topham Hatt or something like that. Maybe if anyone knows, you can tell me in the comments. But in the original British version, he was called the Fat Controller. And apparently that was not allowed in America. A little bit of Thomas trivia for you there. So now we're into the actual main story. And the main story is that exact same minigame again. You must be joking. And it's actually quite difficult because you have to tap on the trains, but I'm tapping them sometimes. They don't actually respond. Well done. You have a new high score. Go me. I also had to turn off the audio because it keeps just playing copyrighted Thomas songs. Go Ryan with a score of 21. This is obviously a very easy game to run, but overall I'm generally impressed with how well 3DS runs on the Retroid Pocket 5. And as you probably know, the Retroid Pocket 5 is essentially the same thing as the Retroid Pocket Flip 2. And for those of you who don't know, I have great news. I've ordered the Retroid Flip 2 and the Retroid Pocket Classic, and they are both coming to my home this Friday. So from Friday, expect to see my first impressions of the two devices. I'll be putting the Retroid Pocket Flip 2 head to head with the Retroid Pocket 5 to see how they compare. I'll be putting the Retroid Pocket Classic head to head with the TrimUI Brick. And I'll be making tons of videos with both of them. So please like the video and subscribe if you haven't already to see all those videos that are coming out very soon. I hope this video was helpful to give you a few tips about renaming files and turning off that disable right eye render, which may help you get a bit more performance in some games. And please let me know in the comments if that is the case. I'd love to help you like that. Thank you Roger and Tony for giving those great tips in the comments of my previous video. Feel free to share if you have any of your own as well. And I'll see you again tomorrow for another retro handheld gaming video. Thanks for watching. Bye.